All right, overcoming food addiction. This is a big one. I'm going to be as concise with this as I can be for the sake of this video, though this is a very, very big topic that could span a very long video. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to address three main things that I think will help you in overcoming your addiction or preoccupation with food. First, I want to say, if you don't know my story, then you won't know that this is a topic that I am very, very familiar with, that is very much my story. For years, I struggled with a very severe eating disorder, and food was my entire life. It was my constant preoccupation. It was what I thought about when I woke up, throughout the entire day, and the last thing I remember thinking about before I went to bed, 24/7. I was in the thick of it. I was constantly thinking about food, when I could eat, how I could sneak food, how I could get to be alone, when I could get through whatever I had to get through so that I could go eat. Um, that was that. And so I feel you. I feel you if you feel that that is relatable. And maybe you don't. Maybe you don't feel that food has such a grip on you right now. Maybe you feel it is less of a thing, but still a preoccupation in your mind, something that you find yourself regularly thinking about and you'd like more freedom around. Wherever you fall, I want you to know that there's so much hope, because I feel completely liberated from that life that I used to live, so much so that it's hard for me to believe sometimes that I am where I am and that I lived where I lived in the mind frame that I did. And so there's hope. There's so much hope. And I think that you'll find that through listening to this video. So the first thing that I will say, the overarching umbrella, is that food is a symptom. When I was trying to fix my relationship with food for so many years, I was so focused on the food, right? Trying to eat different, trying to force myself to not eat the foods that I felt that I didn't have control around or I felt were bad for me, and trying to force myself to have control and discipline with eating the good foods or the healthy foods. And I was always trying to focus on food, right? I had a problem with food, so I needed to fix the food, right? This was how I thought, not realizing, or perhaps not being honest with myself enough to admit that food was a symptom. And food is always, in all of our lives, a symptom of something much deeper. It continues to be a symptom in my life. Food is a symptom of the good that's in your life, the self-love and acceptance and condition of your life, no matter whether that feels healthy or unhealthy. It's always a symptom. Food is always a reflection of us and how we feel about our lives and what's going on. And so when addressing food, we need to go much deeper. What's underneath the reason why you choose the foods you choose? What's underneath the reason why you overeat or undereat or binge or whatever the thing is you do? What is the deeper reason? And I think there are three. So, number one, for myself, the reason that I felt that my relationship with food was so very poor is because I felt that my life was totally misaligned and I was deeply unhappy. And food was a welcome escape from all of that. Food is there. It's always there. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. We're so blessed to live in a world where there's so much abundance of food, because not so very long ago, people didn't live in a world where there was more food than you knew what to do with. They didn't live that way, and we do. I assume you watching this video very much do live in a world where there is abundant food, and so it's always available and it's an easy escape. And so when life feels stressful, when you feel lonely, when you feel purposeless or lost, or that you're forcing yourself to be or live a certain type of way that you don't want to live or be, food is a beautiful companion and a great escape. And I know it was in my life. And so for years, I was living a life that I felt I was supposed to live. I was believing the things I was supposed to believe. I was doing the things I was supposed to do. I was going to the school. I was studying the things. I was doing the things I was told to do. and it didn't feel right. And I couldn't have probably voiced that at the time, but in retrospect, I know that to be true. There was so much in my life that felt misaligned, and food made me feel better, as food can do. Food can make one feel better, whether that's eating cookies or eating a salad. Food makes us feel good, at least in the moment. And so addressing food, we have to be honest with ourselves and ask, what feels misaligned in your life? What are you deeply unhappy about? And are you willing to change those things? Is it a relationship? Is it a work situation? Is it something that your soul longs to do, but you feel that you are not capable or good enough for doing it, or your family or parents wouldn't approve, or whatever the thing is? I healed my relationship with food when I started living an authentic life for myself. When I got honest about who I was and what I wanted for my life, and stopped living for my parents and my community's expectation, and I started doing what I wanted to do, my relationship with food took a radical shift. So food is an easy addiction to participate in when our lives feel deeply misaligned and we feel unhappy. Point number 2, food was the highest excitement thing that I could think of at the time. And this sort of builds off of point number 1. And it's actually quite sad when I think about it, but it's true. At this time in my life, felt so misaligned, and I felt so unhappy about so many different things in my life. Food was the highest excitement thing that I could think to do. To sit down in front of the TV, crappy MTV TV, 16 and Pregnant, whatever trashy things that I used to watch, with a bowl of ice cream or chips or both, or everything in the house. It was the highest excitement thing that I could think to do. That was the best thing I could think to do. And again, as I started to live a life that was more authentic and more aligned with who I was and what I truly wanted, and I started to dream and lean into my dreams and lean into the knowing that I could create the life that I wanted, food became a lot less interesting, because now I live a life where I travel and I do work that's deeply meaningful to me, and I have a husband and baby and another one on the way that I love more than anything in the world. And I have friends, and I have goals and dreams and so many things that are so much more exciting to me than food. And if you don't have those things in your life, or the belief that you can have those things, or that they're coming to you, then food is a beautiful exchange. It's a great thing that you can use to fill that void. And so the question in this point is to ask yourself, what is it that you want? What are your ultimate dreams? There has to be so much more that you desire from life than to spend your evenings or your days or your weekends eating food, or thinking about eating food, or binging on food. There's so much more. You came here with a purpose, or multiple purposes, and it's not to just struggle endlessly with food. And so something needs to become more exciting than food. And when that something shows up, or those some things show up, you pursue those things, food just falls away. That's how it was for me. Again, as I pursued more authenticity and more alignment and more excitement in my life and joy, and I started to travel and read and educate myself and step into a life that I love to live, food just became a very silly thing. There's just no desire to sit in front of the TV and eat a pizza, and ice cream and Oreos and all those things, because I can think of so many other things that I'd rather do with my life. But there was a point in my life where I couldn't, where nothing seemed more exciting, more thrilling, than to eat food. And that is a sad reality, but it was my reality, and I know it's many other people's reality as well. And so what do you want? What thrills you more? What can you go and do or start doing to fill that void, to fill that space, to create a life that is so exciting and meaningful to you that the thought of just eating unnecessarily just becomes undesirable. It's worth thinking about. Food was the highest excitement thing I could think of at the time. And point number 3 is I didn't truly want to eat in a way that at the time I thought was healthy. And I think this is a big one for other people as well. We have so many ideas around food, healthy food being restrictive or boring or bland. And maybe you don't consciously think that, but there is a sense where I know I thought that it wasn't more exciting to eat mangoes than it was to eat cake. It wasn't more exciting to eat a salad than it was to eat whatever, a burger. And so it felt like a constant sense of restriction. And no, none of us wants to live our lives that way. None of us. And so an important shift that I made as well was in falling in love with healthy eating, was in creating recipes and finding foods that I loved so much, so much, that it became effortless to eat those things instead of eating the other things. There's a woman who for the longest time, I don't know if you're watching this, but for the longest time would message me and ask, do you really never sneak a chocolate shake? Really never sneak a chocolate shake? And it's always so funny. It was always so funny to me because I assume chocolate milkshakes are such an excitement for her, something she loves so much that she just couldn't fathom ever giving them up. And I'm not saying one should. You can have chocolate milkshakes. But I would respond to her and say that I have found a way to make a chocolate smoothie with lots of dates and lots of cacao and maple syrup and bananas that I found so satisfying, so delightful, that there was no part of me that felt like an authentic chocolate milkshake was better. I did not feel that. I do not feel that way. I genuinely feel completely satisfied having one of my smoothies or smoothie bowls or banana ice cream, fruit smoothie, or fruit-based ice creams as I do any ice cream sundae that I used to have, which is saying something because ice cream was my thing. That was my thing for the longest time. I'd make these giant bowls of chocolate cookie dough ice cream with all the chocolate fudge and peanut butter cups and peanut butter syrup and just madness, all these crazy things. And so I loved a good ice cream or ice cream sundae. But honest to goodness, I love my smoothies and my fruit-based ice creams every bit as much, honestly, if not more. And so when we think that food is in some way a deprivation or we don't feel thrilled to eat it, then of course there's resistance. Absolutely there's resistance. And so my job, as it is your job, is finding those foods, creating those recipes, pursuing the knowledge that healthier foods than these ultra processed foods that perhaps don't serve us, are wildly enjoyable. So tasty, so good. And so I have a whole arsenal of recipes right now that are healthy and nourishing and easy to make that I love more than anything. And when it comes around to dinner time, there's no part of me that's wishing I could order DoorDash or fast food or takeout or any of those things, because more than anything, I want to make my buffalo cauliflower, or more than anything, I want to make a veggie stir fry, or more than anything, I want to have a smoothie. And that is my authentic feeling about things. And so this is so important. It is so important that you find foods that you love, love, love so much. And I also think it's so important that we relax our ideas around food dogma and this sort of idea of food being good or bad or right and wrong. You can eat foods that are perhaps not the most nutritionally dense foods in the entire world, and just do it. Just allow it. Just allow it to be this thing. And what I find with people so often is that they feel that this is a very all or nothing approach, right? Very black and white, very perfectionist. And so they struggle to stay on track or on the bandwagon, as people say, because as soon as they have one chip or one cookie, they have completely blown it, and then they're completely down the rabbit hole. And I say, just relax around it. Have an Oreo if you want, and if having a couple Oreos at the end of the day allows you to eat the more nutritionally dense foods throughout the rest of the day, and you feel satisfied and balanced and all works out, then good. Do that. There is no rules. There is just you and your happiness, and you finding balance, and you creating a life and a diet that you love. So food is a symptom. Food is always a symptom of something deeper, and only you can answer what it is that deeper is, that is pulling you towards a compulsion or an obsession around food that doesn't feel good for you. What in your life feels misaligned? What are you stressed about? What are you unhappy about? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you depressed? And it's important that you address those things, the underlying things, in order to heal your relationship with food. Because healing your relationship with food, when it's really about those deeper things, doesn't ever heal your relationship with food, right? You have to heal the deeper thing and move towards a life that you love. This is perhaps the best advice that I could ever give, that was ever given to me, is don't fixate so much on trying to fix a problem or fix your life. Just start right now. Pull out a journal and write down what it is you want. What are your dreams? Where would you like to live? Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? Who would you like to do all those things with? And create a vision and a dream and an excitement and a knowing that you can achieve and live and do all of those things. And those who are living lives that are so deeply meaningful and exciting to them aren't constantly preoccupied with food. They're not binging every night, because life is so much more meaningful than food. And so create a life that's more meaningful than you, and find food and recipes that you love so much that make it so that it's easy to not eat some of the other things, because the new foods are so delightful. So like I said, there's so much more that I could say about this. And actually, I did a 2-part series in my community a few months ago on overcoming this topic, overcoming food addiction, finding nutrition freedom. And it was very good. I got a lot of very good feedback around it. And I highly recommend, sorry to plug it right now, but it's just so good. So if you feel to go deeper around this topic, I highly encourage you to take those classes. And to really reflect on the things that I share there, because like I said, this was a huge part of my life, something that held me back for a decade, and something that I feel so much freedom and joy around now. And you deserve that. Like I said, you have a purpose for being here that is not to be constantly fixated on food. And so I highly encourage you to take those classes and to do what needs to be done to work through what is uniquely the thing underneath your symptom of how you relate to food, so that you can go and live that beautiful life and purpose that you're meant to live. So I'll leave you at that. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or thoughts, of course, leave them in the comments and I will get back to you.